Okay, we'll get started. Good evening. Welcome back. Welcome anyone who's here for the first time. My name's Clare, and this is the third week of 4 weeks that I'll be doing the introduction to meditation. And we've been talking about the Four Noble Truths. So this week we'll have a look at the third Noble Truth. I'll start again with the refuge and bodhicitta prayer, that when we go for refuge, it's like you're turning your mind towards something that you seek refuge to find a place of peace. And because the Buddha achieved this state of peace, it's the Buddha's place, so we look towards the Buddha and his teachings. And so we take refuge in the Buddha, and then we take refuge in the teachings, and then we generate bodhicitta, which is the mind wishing to free yourself from all of your suffering in order that you are able to then benefit others. By seeing your own suffering, you understand that others suffer, and you have empathy, and you understand, and you look around and you see that the world is filled with a lot of suffering, and wondering what you can do about that, and how hard it is to help even one being, let alone help yourself, let alone help anybody else. So that, but with this wish to help others, you ask yourself, how could that be possible? How can I be of benefit to others? And sort of realising that by freeing yourself from suffering, that you can then inspire others to be freed from suffering. But it's really not until you can sort of help yourself that you can help others. So this mind of bodhicitta, they say, is really important, and it's in the wish. It's not the actual act of, someone asked last week, can you actually help someone else? It's very difficult to actually physically help someone else. And like I said, if the Buddha could, he would have helped us all already. But it's the wish, it's the desire to help others that is the key here. And if you have that, if you can develop that wish, that's actually a very key ingredient in freeing your own mind. Because in wanting to help others, you are less concerned about getting for yourself. So I'll just start with the prayer. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the highest assembly, from the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and the other perfections. May I attain the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the highest assembly, from the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and the other perfections. May I attain the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma and the highest assembly, from the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and the other perfections. May I attain the state of a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So I thought I'd talk first a little bit about just your actual meditation practice, especially for beginners, just how to sort of plan your practice. It's very good to do a little bit every day. Like, we've done a few meditations over the weeks, and in these Monday nights you get a lot of different meditations, you get a taste of a lot of different ways that you can go with your meditation. But on Wednesday nights when Geshe Doga teaches, he always just does, he comes back to the breath, to the breathing meditation. And so it's really important that for your focus, and it's a great one for stopping all of the chatter, the breathing meditation. And it's a very simple one. It's one that we can all sort of relate to very easily. So it's really good to practice a little bit every day, a few minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, however long you can sit for. It's good to find a corner of your house, just a spot that you're comfortable, that makes you happy, so that you're kind of happy to return there. The other thing about meditation is if you're trying too hard, it's not fun, and then you won't want to keep doing it. So and the advice is always slowly, slowly. So you do a little bit of quality rather than try and force yourself to sit for a long time and your mind's drifting anyway. So when we talk about focusing on the breath, it really is about this mindfulness and introspection. Mindfulness that the only object that you should be focusing on is your breath, and the introspection is sort of watching, okay, I've drifted, just come back. I've drifted, just come back. And so part of your mind is watching and brings you back to the focus of the object that you're meditating on. And that's important to remember that just to be mindfulness, introspective about what you're doing, because if you keep drifting off and losing the object, it's not going to be helpful, because it's bringing the mind in, and focusing is gaining more control over your mind. But if you're letting it continually drift, you're not actually going to gain that control. So you're really working to sort of strengthen your powers of focus. So short and good meditation is much better than sitting there for a long time in meditative position but not really doing much. Doing it in the morning is really good. Finding the same time every day, I'm not good at this. I call mine meditation on the run. I sort of do it when I can, between running off to work and my day, and then a bit before I go to sleep at night. But the morning is the best, because you've sort of woken up and your mind it started chattering, but it's not completely full of chatter and the day and what's happening. So the morning your mind is a bit clearer. It's a little bit easier. I'm not a morning person, so it's always been problematic doing that. But I have found in doing retreats, when you have to get up really early and do it, it's just wonderful. It's really nice. It's the best time of day. And I'm just not quite disciplined enough to force myself to do it every morning. Although I do meditate every morning, I don't get up at the crack of dawn and do it properly as I should. And that's the thing about it too, is if you do this properly, it is more powerful. The times when you're really having good meditation, it actually sort of really, really helps. And so it's really worthwhile making the effort, because you feel the benefits from it. All right, so the way in this Tibetan tradition is that we don't. Someone said to me earlier tonight, it's an introduction to meditation, so we need to do a lot of meditation, and that's very true. I need to, we'll get into some meditation shortly, but the way that the Tibetans do it is that you listen to some philosophy. We talk a bit about the philosophy, and then you think about that, you contemplate that, and how real that is for you. And then there are meditations directed towards those thoughts. So we've been talking about the Four Noble Truths, or the Four Arya Truths. And when they call them Noble Truths or Arya Truths, they're truths because they are the realisations that the Buddha and other great meditators, it's their realisations. So it's what the Buddha saw when he first sat down and became enlightened. These were the four main points that came to him, is the truth of suffering. And what was the second one? The truth of the cause of suffering. And then tonight we're going to talk about cessation of suffering. So truth of suffering is that whatever we call, we understand gross suffering, we understand physical pain, we understand emotional pain, we understand these things as suffering, but we don't understand so well that pleasure is also a form of suffering, because the first moment of something good happening is the beginning of the end of that something good happening, so that in fact it is a form of suffering in itself. So, and then the three types of suffering. So that's the suffering of, you've got the suffering of suffering. The third one is the all-pervasive suffering. What's the second one? Suffering of change. Thank you, Ingrid. So the suffering of change. So that is like whenever anything good happens, and they're not saying it's not good to have good things happen, but we cling on to them as if this is the be-all and end-all, and our life, everything's fulfilled, this is what I've been searching for, I'm totally happy, and then it changes, and then it's not what we thought it was, or it's gone, or it becomes suffering. And even, like I said, even say in a relationship, and you have a really lovely relationship, and you live for a long time with that relationship or relationships, but it will ultimately end in death, which is terrible, terrible, terrible suffering to be the death yourself, but also the people left behind, causes a lot of pain. So what we normally see as kind of normal good life is in fact a form of suffering. And then there's the all-pervasive suffering, which is that just by mere virtue of being born and existing, there will be suffering because of the nature of reality, that everything is a form of suffering, and it's akin to the suffering of change. Just, the suffering of birth, being born, and then going through the illness, old age and death. It's unavoidable. So just by virtue of being born. So this is all very miserable. And they say, these Buddhists, all they ever talk about is suffering. But then then you start to sort of wonder, well, why? What the hell? Why? But you know yourself. It's true when you think about these things. And I'm open to, it's very open to debate in Buddhism as well. And in fact, debating is part of the system of learning, so that you question everything. But then they look into the causes of these sufferings, and the big cause, and then they come up with what they call the three poisons. Attachment, aversion and ignorance are the three sort of all umbrella of the causes of our suffering. Because we're attached to things, when they change or die, we suffer. And when we get things we don't want, or the people, or we get angry about stuff, it causes us to be deranged. Our anger is a very harmful thing. It's harmful to ourselves and it's harmful to others. So that's when we get what we don't want. We have aversion and we push things away, or we get angry. And just those actions themselves are causing us suffering. And in yourself that anger feels terrible. So, and causes a lot of damage. And then the ignorance is just the ignorance of, a lack of wisdom, really. We make bad choices, we're ignorant of a whole lot of things, but also there's the ignorance of the nature of reality. And so by analysing, you can get to some sense of the nature of reality. But at the moment when we're so invested in the external that we sort of don't look inward and we don't really analyse exactly what's going on. And then, so then you come to, so these, what they say are the causes of our suffering. And it's because we have a sort of wrong view of things. It's not that things are all suffering, but we suffer because we grasp onto things that aren't existing the way we perceive them to exist. We grasp onto things, but it's like grasping onto to dry, soft sand. It's impossible. It falls between your fingers. And I saw there's a DVD of Lama Yeshe, and he's teaching. He's one of the lamas up here. He's passed away a long time ago, but there are some terrific DVDs of him talking, and he had these flowers on his table and he was going, oh, these beautiful flowers, beautiful flowers, beautiful flowers, and he sort of kind of started to crush them. And that's what we do. We sort of cling on to things. And then the flowers would die anyway. But you could just sort of say, nice, yes, they are nice flowers, but you don't have to cling on so tight. So then you come to the third noble truth, which is cessation. And they're talking about the cessation of attachment, really. And the attachment is the key to all of the other delusions of anger and jealousy and pride and whatever else. I can't think of them all now. But these are all the emotions that we go through that cause us suffering. And that it's because of attachment that we go through all of these other negative states of mind. And it's attachment for craving for things. So it's sort of like with craving, it's like going into a jewellery shop and you see something, you go, oh my God, that's fantastic, that's gorgeous. And then you see something else and you go, oh my God, that's fantastic. And then it's like, oh my God, there's something else. And it's like you've forgotten about the first thing you saw. So that craving was sort of in that moment and you had to have it. But because your focus went somewhere else, the craving for that has stopped. Now I have craving for this. So you see, this is sort of what we do. It's the craving itself that is the problem. It's not that, we have to have that object. It's the craving. And when you turn your mind to something else, you can see that the actual craving and the discomfort I had in wanting that thing, I had to have it in that moment. You can make it actually go away by focusing on something else. But then your craving is shifted to that something else. So you still have the craving. So you're still feeding the craving. So it's our attachment and hanging on to these things that is the fuel for the craving that's kind of burning. And it is like a burning desire. But they say the Buddhism would say there are good desires. So you can desire to be free. You can have a strong yearning to be free of all of this suffering. That sounds like a song. Doesn't it? Isn't there a song? And I'm trying to think of what the song is now. I've lost my... is it? Yeah, it might be. Yeah, no, I don't think that's the one I'm thinking of, but anyway, yearning to be free, yeah. And a desire to be enlightened, which means you actually want to... Enlightenment is more than liberation, it's more than nirvana. Enlightenment is tied in with bodhicitta, that you wish to become enlightened in order that you can help others. So, you have this strong desire to free yourself so that you can then be of benefit to others. So by turning your mind into your meditation, which is a positive state of mind, you've turned your mind away from your craving. So you can actually, there are the antidotes to attachment, aversion and ignorance as well, that we talked about last week. But just by meditating, you can actually shift your mind into a positive state. Now, positive states are states of love and compassion and wanting to help others and non-attachment and non-anger, patience. So all of these nice positive states of mind are much more related to a sense of reality, that you're not grasping onto these things that are only going to cause you problems. You have this sense, you begin to have a sense of the futility of it. And by then you can generate these positive states of mind of love and compassion. And so by wanting others to be happy is based in a sense of reality. It's a sense of less clinging to yourself. It's less self-cherishing. So it is more of a sense of reality of things, that it's not that big a deal that it's worth stressing about, and that yes, I want to help others, rather than I need to get for me and I need to go first, and yes, I understand other people, but I need to get what I need to get, is not based in a sense of reality. It's based in a grasping, clinging sort of sense. So the theory is that with your meditation, which we will get to, you're familiarising yourself more with positive states of mind, and therefore freeing yourself of the negative states of mind, and therefore you feel more of a sense of peace and happiness. So I'll start with a breathing meditation, and I'm tossing up which way to go. I'll just start with the breathing meditation, and then I'll move into a meditation on impermanence. And that will give you more of a sense of me just going blah, 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 talking about it. And they're opposites. Love and compassion is the opposite to anger and attachment, so that they can't exist at the same time. And the Dalai Lama, I remember him explaining how, with the Chinese invading and doing terrible things and stuff, and you sort of think, how are people capable of such horrors and anger and stuff, and we see a lot of it in the world all the time. But he explained that if your mind is filled with a negative state of mind, it can't exist with a positive state of mind. So if you're habituated with anger and hate, those things are overpowering, and it's harder for you to move into a state of love. Or you can't have love and compassion at the same time. So that's how people are kind of capable of it. But the reverse is what we're working with. The more you develop love and compassion in your mind, the less room there is for anger. So you can't do this overnight, but you work on it slowly. Now, I'll start with the 9 round breathing, which I haven't done before, but I'll introduce it now. And what we do is, it's a visual exercise, and we'll breathe in. You do it in yoga sometimes, where you you press on the nostrils and close your nose. But we're just going to do it mentally. So you breathe in through the left and out through the right 3 times, in through the left and out through the right 3 times, and then in through the right and out through the left 3 times, in through the right, out through the left, and then in through both nostrils and out through both. So I'll let you sort of do it in your own time. But what you're doing, and of course you can't sort of actually do that. Maybe some people can, but what you're doing is you're visualising the breath going in through the left. And it's funny because you can actually sort of visualise it. And so you just visualise it. It's a mental image of the breath that you're working with. And you just follow it 3 times in and 3 times out and 3 times in, 3 times out, and then 3 times with both nostrils. And then I'll just move into this meditation on impermanence. Yeah. Okay, so sitting with a straight back and with your right hand on top of your left and the thumbs touching. You don't have to do this. This is just the way that they do it here. It's an energy thing. And then having a straight spine is really important just for the energy flow. And tucking the chin just a little. Relaxing your shoulders and neck and your arms, having them relaxed, not tight beside you. And the eyes just open a little bit, letting in some light. The tongue on the top of the palate behind the teeth. The lips just slightly apart, but we're breathing through the nose, in and out through the nose. So just bringing the mind in, letting go of all of your thoughts. And then visualise above your head a clear blue sky, or visualise looking up into a clear blue sky. And then bring this clear sky, clear space down into you. And any thoughts are like passing clouds, the clear sky, the clarity of your mind, and the thoughts are just passing. And now focusing in on your breath. And so start to focus on breathing in through the left and out through the right. 3 times on either side, and then 3 times with both nostrils. And then to continue to focus in on the breath, letting go of any thoughts. Now turn your awareness to your body and think of its many different parts: arms, legs, head, skin, blood, bones, nerves and muscles. Examine them one by one. Probe into them with your feelings. Contemplate the nature of these things, their substance, their texture, their shape and size. Be sensitive to the body at work, the movement that is occurring every moment, the ebb and flow of your breath, the beating of your heart, the flow of your blood, and the energy of your nerve impulses. Be aware of your body at the even more subtle level of its cellular structure, that it is entirely composed of living cells coming into existence, moving about, reproducing, dying and disintegrating. On an even subtler level, all the parts of your body are made of molecules, atoms and subatomic particles, and these are in constant motion. Try to really get a feeling for the change that is taking place every moment in your body. Now turn your attention to your mind. It too is composed of many parts: thoughts, perceptions, feelings, memories, and images following one after the other, ceaselessly. Spend a few minutes simply observing the ever-changing flow of experiences in your mind, like someone looking out of a window into a busy street, watching the cars and pedestrians passing by. Don't cling to anything that you see in your mind. Don't judge or make comments. Just observe. And try to get a sense of the impermanent, ever-changing nature of your mind. After reflecting on the impermanence of your inner world, your own body and mind, extend your awareness to the outer world. Think about your immediate surroundings, the cushion, or the chair that you're sitting on, the floor, the walls, the windows, and ceiling. The furniture and other objects in the room. Consider that each of these, although appearing solid and static, is actually a mass of tiny particles whizzing around. Stay with that experience for a while. Then let your awareness travel further out beyond the walls of the room. Think of other people. Their bodies and minds are also constantly changing, not staying the same for even one moment. The same is true of all living beings, such as animals, birds, and insects. Think of all the inanimate objects in the world and in the universe. Houses, buildings, roads, cars, trees, mountains, oceans and rivers, the earth itself, the sun, moon and stars. All of these things, being composed of atoms and other minute particles, are constantly changing every moment, every millisecond. Nothing stays the same without changing. When the feeling of this experience fades, or your attention starts to wander, again analyse the impermanence of either your body or mind. Or another object. So we conclude the meditation with the thought that it is unrealistic and self-defeating to cling to things as though they were permanent. Whatever is beautiful and pleasing will change and eventually disappear. So we can't expect it to give us lasting happiness. Also, whatever is unpleasant or disturbing won't last forever. It might even change for the better, so there's no need to be upset or to reject it. So we finish by dedicating any positive energy and insight to the happiness of all living beings. And just bring your mind back gently to the room. So, any questions at this point? People got any burning thoughts? So one of the things, when you start to think about these things, and you think about your past and all the attachment, aversion and ignorance that we've been practicing all our lives, and you start to sort of think, oh my God, I've got so much to answer for, and well, I do. But they have a wonderful thing in this tradition also of purification practices. And so they say there's no negativity that can't be purified. And because your mind is ever changing, you can change your mind, as I was saying before, towards more positive states. And by doing these purification practices, you can sort of unburden yourself a bit of... There is no word for guilt in Tibetan. They just talk about karma, and so everything. And I haven't really touched on karma a lot, but everything is cause and effect. So by doing negative things, it's placing negative imprints into your mind that will ripen later on given certain circumstances, or negative habits into your mind that will continue to occur. And it's just cause and effect. So negative action cannot have a positive result. It's like an apple seed can't grow oranges, no matter how much you wish it would. It won't. So any negative action that we've done has planted seeds and imprints onto our mind. So, and any positive action that we've done has planted seeds and imprints on our mind for positive results to ripen. And they actually say, because we talk a lot about karma in the ordinary society. Even these kids that I work with understand karma. But they'll sort of say, I don't believe in karma, and that's okay not to believe in karma. But when you I kind of wanted to tell you everything, but karma is a whole study in itself. And when you look into it and it starts to really make sense to you, it's like gravity. It just is. It just is. So there's no place for guilt really, because it's just karma, and you can change it. You can do something about it. So with these purification practices, they have you do 4 things. What do they call them? They're regret. You generate regret, then you go for refuge, or you turn your mind to something positive, and then you do something to repair it, and then you sort of promise not to do it again or try not to do it again. So but regret is the big key. And I thought for the other meditation that I might do tonight is to go through a purification practice with you, so that with your practice of the 6 perfections that we talked about the first night, or just generosity, ethics, patience, joyful effort, concentration and wisdom. Some of you might not have been here for that, but each of those things sort of leads into the next, or you can sort of work on all of them together. But your practice starts with generosity. So to keep it simple, it's just about being kind and generous, whether it's with material things or with your time or with your thoughts, just being generous. And His Holiness always says, my religion is simple, my religion is kindness. And that's almost all you need to know. If you start to be kinder, your whole world changes. You're less angry, you're less attached to yourself, so that you're going to be less upset when things go wrong, or you don't get what you're craving for, because you're having generous thoughts towards others and wanting to help others. You're just not that so overly concerned about yourself, and that frees you. It's actually not rocket science. It does free you just by practicing kindness. And when you become more patient, when it starts to work for you, you feel happier. You sort of think, well, this is really cool, I'm really enjoying this. And then you develop what they call joyful effort. And you've got to enjoy it, or else you will walk away, So it's got to kind of be fun. And I mean, that's been a modus operandi for myself with life anyway. You've got to enjoy it, or it's not fun, and you're not going to be able to sustain it. So you need to have a sort of a good sense of this. It's making me feel good, so I'll keep doing it. If it's not making you feel good, don't do it. If going out and chasing after the things that you want and the people that you want, and investing in everything in your football team, and wanting all those things, if they make you happy, if that's what's really, making you happy, then do it. It's not saying don't do things, but if you're sort of questioning, why aren't I happy, or what the hell's going on, or, I've been trying, but I'm still not, it's not working out. If you're questioning those things, then it's kind of good to try and get a different perspective, or find some answers. Why aren't things working out? I don't think of myself as a bad person. But then when you start to analyse with Buddhism, you sort of think, well, I did that and did that, and it was a long time ago, but it's still there in your mind. You know yourself the difference between right and wrong. I saw a thing a while ago about, it was talking to people who were in a hospice, older people who were dying. And this one man, it really struck me. This old guy, he was, 88 or 90 or something, and he didn't have long, and he started to cry. He was saying, I'm okay with dying, but he got a bit teary, and they said, what's wrong? And he said, there was a thing I did when I was 17, and it's upsetting me now. So it's those kind of things. It's that, and I think that could possibly, that's what happens. It's your regrets. It's the things that you did wrong are the things that are going to play on you at those times. So, you know, which is a kind of scary thought. But so we have purification practices, these lovely meditations where you can, but you have to have sincere regret. And you can do a general, oh, purify me of everything, please. You know, it's sort of, you can sort of, because you can't remember everything. You can't remember everything you've done. And Buddhism would say there's lifetimes of it. In fact, infinite lifetimes of it. And that's one of the reasons why, no matter how hard we try, things keep going wrong. Because we've got a lot of karma, a lot of seeds planted on this mind stream. That you got a sense of it in that meditation, that the mind is a separate entity to the body. It's not physical, it's mental. And so that when you sort of, and that's a whole other thing, you can analyse the mind and you sort of, you can sort of realise that there, well, when was the first moment of mind? Was it when the sperm and the egg came together? If the mind is the sperm and the egg, then your mind would be your parent's mind. Because your physical traits, your physical matter has come from your parents. But your mind, you know that your mind isn't your parent's mind. And then each thought that you have, every thought you have leads to the next thought. So, and has come from the previous thought. So it's this endless sort of stream of consciousness that is driven by what came before. So you know in your own life that everything that's kind of ever happened to you has kind of caused you, guided you to be here now and to be all these different personalities. We all have different karmas, different things. So that sort of endless stream of thoughts and karmas. I'm sidetracking, so that's talking about reincarnation. So, and then that's another thing for beginners. You don't, you know, I shouldn't even be really talking about reincarnation because it's a whole thing. Because Westerners, it's not a natural thought for us to think about reincarnation. But just in this life, if you think of your continuum of your mind and where you've come from and everything that you've done, and that some of the things that were maybe not so good, then if you can free yourself from worrying about those or free yourself from those things sort of driving you, then your mind is more open and more open to love and compassion for others as well. Because often it's the sort of, it's guilt can be a very drag us down into a negative state as well. So we're trying to sort of minimise the negative states of mind and promote these positive states of mind. So we'll do this purification practice to finish up with. I feel like I've been really heavy tonight with all this negative stuff, but we'll finish with this beautiful So this is a very simple practice. And there are many other sort of ways of doing purification. But regret is the big key, really. So, and Buddhism says that, you know, the Buddha says that there's nothing that can't be purified. No matter how heavy or bad we feel about things, that he's saying, you know, with real regret, you can, you know, take this off your mind stream. so that the results of it won't ripen further down the track somewhere. There'll be a little bit of preamble and then I'll go into the actual practice, but if you just get yourselves comfortable again in meditation posture and bring your mind inwards and just focusing on the breath. Just keep bringing your mind back to the breath, letting go of all other thoughts. So often we identify ourselves more with our negative side than our positive side and feel guilty about mistakes we've made. We believe I am hopeless, I can't control my anger, I can't do anything right, I'm completely cold and unable to love anyone. Although we may have faults and problems, it is wrong to think that they are permanent. We can free ourselves from negative energy and the burden of guilt, as long as we are willing to work. One way of doing this is through the process of purification. Purification is a recurring theme in Buddhist meditation. It's chiefly a question of changing our way of thinking. When we think we are impure and negative, we become just that. A low, depressed self-image gradually permeates our behaviour and outlook on life. We feel limited and inadequate and don't even give ourselves a chance to change. But by recognising our potential for perfection and sincerely putting energy into developing it, we cultivate a more positive self-image. Believing that we are basically pure is the first step to becoming pure. What needs to be purified, therefore, is our lack of self-confidence and tendency to identify with our negative energy, as well as the negative energy itself. This simplified meditation contains the essence of purification, letting go of problems and mistakes, and seeing them as temporary obscurations rather than an intrinsic part of our nature. It helps us to get in touch with and develop our natural good energy. So again, just focusing the mind inwards on the breath. So we bring the mind to a beneficial reason as your motivation for doing the meditation, such as wishing to become more free from negative energy so that you can be more helpful and less harmful to others. Now imagine that when you inhale, all the positive energy in the universe enters your body in the form of pure, blissful, radiant white light. Visualize this light flowing to every part of your body, filling every cell and atom, and making you relaxed, light and blissful. Do this visualization with every inhalation. Filling your body with this blissful white light. Purifying white light. It's radiating out through all your pores, through your fingers and your toes, the top of your head. You're filled with all this positive energy, healing energy. And then begin to breathe out dark smoke with every exhalation. Imagine that all your negative energy, past mistakes, distorted conceptions, and disturbing emotions leave your body with the breath in the form of dark smoke or fog. This smoke goes out into space where it disappears completely. Don't worry that you are polluting the environment. Just imagine that the smoke becomes non-existent. And feel confident that you have freed yourself of every trace of faults and negativity. Concentrate on this experience, breathing out the dark smoke of your problems and breathing in the white light of good energy. When you're distracted by thoughts or other experiences, simply observe them without reacting or getting involved. You can also transform these distractions into dark smoke and breathe them out into oblivion. Conclude the meditation by dedicating your positive energy to all beings finding everlasting happiness and peace of mind. And then bring your mind back to the room. So we do these dedications as a way of sort of focusing that you've created some good energy and you want it to be put to some good use. So you dedicate it for the benefit of all beings or for the happiness of all beings. Rather than you just get up and walk away and you go out and you get cross in traffic and you've lost all your good energy. But you've already dedicated it somewhere else. So you haven't, so it's a way of preserving it almost on your mind stream. That you've dedicated it to others, so it's not totally lost when you go off and forget. So, are there any questions? Yes. Yeah. Sorry, it takes you 10-15 minutes to... Yeah. No. No, and the meditation is, so you find your mind is racing in the morning when you get up?
Well, it doesn't say I'm going to breathe every morning.
Yeah.
Honestly, the first 10 minutes is still just wandering everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. 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 So I'll just repeat the question for the microphone, that you're just saying that it's really difficult to meditate because your mind is wandering a lot while you're doing your trying. Yeah.
You keep saying you're short one. Why don't you go for that 10 minutes till it really quiet down?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So you need the 10 minutes, the longer time, to actually settle the mind. Yeah. Okay, well, look, it sounds like you're sort of doing the right thing and you're bringing your mind inwards. I suppose it's if you find that it's absolutely not working, that you would get up and have a break. But, yeah, so maybe it is, you have a settling period and then you sort of focus inwards. So once you've reached that point where you start to focus inwards, it's probably those moments that you just stay with, and then when you start to lose that, you don't sort of you can bring yourself back. You can, when you notice, you just keep bringing yourself back to the point where, if you can continue to do that, you keep doing it. But if you're losing it and you feel that it's okay, I've completely, then you can sort of finish up rather than struggling with it. And then that becomes a habit, and then it's not enjoyable, it's not working. And so it's just a very slow process over time that you do get stronger at it. And there are lots of different sorts of meditations, different things to suit different people as well. So, we don't necessarily always introduce the deity meditations, but some of these images that you see, which are visual representations of states of mind, really, rather than, and they are sort of, it's sometimes based on real people, but it's more like a state of mind. And if you visualise them above your head, filling you with light, so you've actually kind of got work to do with the visualisations. You can actually, you've got something to kind of hang on to in a way and work with, and then they fill you with light. So there's different ways, different sorts of meditations. This book, we've run out in the bookshop, but Kathleen MacDonald's book of How to Meditate covers the whole range of the different types of meditation, so that's good to look at. But yes, I think it is that, yes, you need the settling time before you really sort of, your mind has settled enough that you can focus for a period of time. Yeah. Yes?
It's said that the first time you start to meditate, it's the first time that you start to notice your thoughts.
Yeah.
And that's the normal way. And yes, if you keep on doing it, you become more aware of your thoughts, and then gradually you start to get control of that, and it becomes easier. But that is the normal way of when you first start to meditate, you're starting to be aware of what's in your mind.
Yeah. That's right. So Neil's saying that when you start to meditate, you start to actually be aware of how much is actually going on in your mind, that how much it is racing. So sometimes it feels like when you first start to meditate that it's getting worse. It's not that it's getting worse, it's just that you've never noticed before how distracted and how much your crazy mind is jumping all over the place and chasing thoughts. So this thing of the mindfulness of the object of your meditation, the breath, just keep bringing yourself back to that. And it's, you're hopefully just locking in on that for a while, and it's a break. It breaks all this constant chatter, and you have those moments of peace and free. You're free from all that constant sort of exhausting thinking. Funny, thinking can be so exhausting. So was there someone over there? No, right. Yes.
Are there other formations of the body, like when you meditate? I find that like my body just starts to cramp up and spots, or just feel uncomfortable. Is that like as far as the formation of the body whilst in the meditation? Are there alternatives, or are they set in stone? Are the formations set in stone?
Yeah.
I mean, how imperative is it that your body is actually in that
position? Yeah. So the question is it imperative to sit in lotus position, or the classic meditation position? Absolutely not. And Geshe Doga, when he's teaching on Wednesday nights, he always says, just find a comfortable position. Be comfortable. And yes, they say that it is said that if you can get into full lotus position, which is both your feet up, good luck to you. It is said that that's actually it's a very stable way to sit, apparently. It's a triangle, which is a stable formation, and your spine, it helps your spine to be straight. But the most important thing is really to have your spine straight, so that the psychic energies that sort of similar to the energies that travel through your body, your mental energies travel similar to your nervous system. And so when you're crouching, you're blocking it. So the most important thing is just to have a straight spine, and to be sitting on a chair or just making yourself as comfortable as possible is the best, is fine, is important actually. If your body is always aching and hurting, then again, you're not going to sustain it because you're suffering too much with it. There are meditations where you can meditate into the pain, and there are ways of working with discomfort if you're kind of stuck with discomfort. But no, make yourself comfortable, but just have a straight spine. Yes?
Than the hips, and that causes the spelling to wind out and round, and that's not comfortable. So just sitting on more cushion, like a whole pile,
bring your knees forward.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the knees can be level with the hips in the height, or even the hips a little higher than the knees, and then that will enable you to lengthen the
Yeah.
That'll work.
Yeah. So Ingrid's saying to sit higher on your cushions, and that helps you, have more cushions. Yeah, to bring the hips up level with the knees. Yeah, cool. So thank you very much. There's a cup of tea and cake in the dining room. Oh, listen, I meant to make this announcement. I should have done it earlier because half the people have left now because we're running late. Geshe Doga is doing a one-day course on the 29th on patience, which I'll be there. Yeah. It's absolutely okay for beginners, definitely. Yes, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no.